At last, I've got myself what I would consider my holy grail, the Hot Toys 1989 Batman figure. No. I have wanted to get my hands on a Hot Toys Michael Keaton Batman figure for the longest time, ever since 2012, I want to say, when they released the original DX09 version of this figure. But back then I really couldn't afford it, so I had to just kind of forget about it, and I opted for the small NECA figure of Batman, which I absolutely love and I've still got in my collection here. But now, finally, I have one, and I've waited for this figure for over a year to arrive, and I'm so excited to open it, so let's get to it. Okay, first of all, let's start with the box. It's nothing fancy, it's very basic, but I like it. It's got these nicely embossed letters here, what spell out Batman, and of course the bat signal is also embossed, and it's got this foily effect which gives off this very cool shimmer as you turn the box around. I'm really digging the box, but you're not here for the box, you're here for what's inside it. Okay, so this guy comes with so many accessories, all these different pairs of hands that he comes with here, which look very cool. We've got Vicky Vale's shoe, we've got all these ninja throwing stars, we've got the grappling gun. We've got this little tool here, I think is to move the eyes around in the cowl. Smoke pellets. We've got two of these rods at the top here so you can stretch out his cape like he does in the movie. Oh, the Batarang. That's so nice. And we also get two interchangeable mouthpieces. I'm not sure what the hell they were thinking with that one. But that one looks quite cool. That one is... I quite like that one. And then we have the line launcher. This is from the scene where he bursts into the restaurant and rescues Vicky Vale from the Joker. That's really well detailed and really, really well painted. I love that. And here he is in all of his glory. And I've just got to say, I have seen a lot of reviews on this figure. And I'm telling you now, those video reviews and this one does not do him justice in person. This figure is absolutely beautiful and the detail is amazing. One thing I was concerned about, I wasn't sure if I was going to like this texturing on the suit. It is very textured and it's not this textured in the actual movie. But in hand, it is noticeable. It is. But it's not as noticeable as it is in some of the reviews that I've been watching. It's not bad at all and you can excuse it. Another thing is the belt is very yellow, whereas in the movie it's kind of got like a weathered effect to it. Once again, it doesn't bother me at all. I'm more than happy with it. It's just amazing. I really like that they've got the wire in the cape so we can get some nice poses with it. Because like I said, I'm just going to possibly just keep him in the stationary, this standard pose. I'm not going to be doing anything drastic with him because I want to preserve the suit. I don't want the suit to get damaged in any way over the years, so I'm just going to keep him like this. But to be perfectly honest, in the movie, Keaton is more or less always in this pose anyway, and it's his iconic pose, and this is a way I would always display him. Even the NECA Batman that I've got over there, that's the way I've always displayed him, just standing upright. And I will not have this one any other way. This one is just perfect just as it is. Now, another feature I wasn't impressed with on other reviews was the cape. It didn't seem to blend perfectly with the cowl. But once again, now that I've got it in hand, it doesn't bother me because it's hardly noticeable. It's not noticeable at all, actually. It looks like it is part of the cowl. And I'm more than happy with it. I was toying with the idea of getting a custom cape. I don't think I'm going to bother now. I'm more than happy with just keeping this cape on him. I'm not saying that the custom capes that are available would not benefit the figure. I think they certainly would because some of them drape beautifully. But for me, I'm more than happy keeping this Hot Toys cape just as it is. The next thing I want to talk about is the actual likeness to Michael Keaton. And I've got to say, they did a really, really good job. I really do think they caught the likeness of Michael Keaton. A lot of people are saying that the likeness of Keaton was better on the DX09. I think the Michael Keaton lips on the DX09 looked almost caricature, whereas this one looks more natural and more lifelike. Even the eyes look very lifelike, and it's very hard to get it across on camera, but when you're actually looking at it with your own eyes, you can see like the glassiness of the eyes and the sheen of them as the light hits them. It's kind of eerie to stare straight into his eyes because they actually do look that real. I've just moved his arm out from under his cape because this is one part of the figure that I'm really worried about. These gauntlet spikes here feel extremely fragile. Like, it would be very easy for me to break them off, and I'm very nervous about it. They're not brittle or anything like that, but I think if this figure was to fall off your shelf at the right angle, these would very easily break off. I have seen quite a lot of second-hand Batman Returns figures that don't have these spikes on anymore because they've actually broke off the forearm, which is a shame, and I'm terrified of this happening to mine, so I'm going to be very careful with it. I'm thinking of actually getting some kind of display box to put him in, just to keep him nice and safe. But as you can see, he's just absolutely perfect. And like I said before, the texture on the suit, which you can see a lot better closer up, does not bother me one little bit in person. I know it looks really bad through the camera, and it is most definitely noticeable even to the human eye, but in person it just does not bother me. This figure is absolutely beautiful. Would you believe that I was considering cancelling my pre-order because it weren't film accurate because of this texturing? But now that I have it, I think that would have been a massive mistake. A massive mistake. And here he is from the back, and I thought I'd just give you a nice shot of the cape, which I'm very impressed with. Like I said before in other reviews, this cape just looked too different to the cowl. It looked like it was a completely separate piece, but now that I have it, I'm more than happy with it. I think it looks absolutely flawless. I think it looks very much part of the Batman costume. Yeah, I'm just really pleased with it. As you can see on the back of the head, there's no slot to actually move the eyes like you had on the DX09, which I prefer. I thought it was a little bit unsightly on the other figure, but this is nice and clean and just one piece, one solid cowl. If you want to actually move the eyes, you have to go up through the cowl with the special tool that they provided, and we'll have a look at that a little bit later. Down here we have the famous Nike Bat trainers, which are very nicely detailed, and as we go up here you can see once again the texture of the suit, and then we get to the belt, which, like I said before, is very plainly painted, like a plain yellow, and I thought this would bother me, but it doesn't. There's not much about this figure that bothers me, actually. I'm over the moon with it. I have wanted this Hot Toys Batman, or the DX09, for so long, so to get this one, to finally have a Batman figure in my collection, I'm just really happy about it. And I was actually wondering whether the DX09 is better. I think in some ways it possibly is, and in other ways it isn't. The DX09 suffers a little bit with the cowl. I believe the actual mouthpiece goes in a little bit too far on the DX09 and looks a little bit silly, whereas this one is just rectified all of those problems. And yeah, this just looks like Keaton. It is Keaton in every single way. When I saw the first couple of reviews on this figure, I thought it actually looked more like Val Kilmer, but when you've got it in hand, there's no question who this is. This is Keaton. Okay, so I've just mounted the camera one more time so I can show you how big the cape actually is. It's absolutely massive. Absolutely massive. Okay, so let's have a quick look at articulation, and this is something that I really do not want to be doing often with this figure. I just want to keep it in the standard pose, like I said, but I have had a little play around with him off camera, and it isn't that bad actually. The articulation seems pretty good. I am terrified of breaking these things off, though that's one of my big fears. But the arms do hold at a high position, but the suit does want to bring them down again. But it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Don't forget, Keaton didn't have much movement in this suit either, so it is kind of screen accurate that this suit doesn't move that much either. But it isn't bad at all, and the joints are very stiff and very easy to turn. But like I said, this suit just brings the legs back down and the arms back down a little bit. You can't do too much posing, and it has this unsightly crease here at the leg. but it does have quite a bit of articulation. But as you can see again, the suit is actually pushing it back down. But like I said, Keaton didn't actually move that much in this suit in the movie. But I think if you have a play around with it, you can get some pretty decent poses out of this guy. He's even got a joint in the middle of his body here, so you can bend him up and down. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, so we're going to try him now with some of these different faceplates just to see what he looks like. Okay, so to change the faceplate, you just take his head off and you just pop your finger up in his cowl here, and you should be able to just pop his mouthpiece out. There we go, it's coming. There we go. And this is also where you can maneuver the eyes around as well. There he is with this slightly terrifying smile on his face, and what makes it worse is that I've actually moved one of the eyes with my fingers and I didn't realise. That is actually quite haunting. Let's see if we can fix that. Okay, so you just take the head, you take your little tool and you insert it in there, and you can actually maneuver the eyes around. But to be totally honest, I found it a lot easier just doing it with my finger than actually trying to get that into the little eye slots which are in here. I just put my finger in and I actually moved around the eyes. It was a lot easier, but it was still quite tricky. Anyway, there he is with the blood pouring down his face and the Keaton smile. I actually think this is a very, very good mouthpiece. Now let's see the worst one. There it is. I mean, what were they thinking of when they okayed this mold? When they said that this was fine to put in with the figure? It looks absolutely atrocious. It makes him look like he's got buck teeth. He looks a little bit like Napoleon Dynamite. But yeah, this is what we got, and this is most definitely not what I will be displaying with this figure. No chance. For me personally, it's got to be the mouth plate that he actually came with. This one is just perfect, and I believe if you press the head down, it should click into place. There we go. It's terrifying doing anything like that with a Hot Toys. It really is. I always think I'm going to break it. But there we go. For me, that is the best head sculpt, and I really think this lighting setup I've got going here is really doing this figure a world of good. Not that it needs it, because in full light it actually looks just as good. I think this is the best faceplate. This is definitely a second, and I quite like this one. It's quite cool. And then this one, I have no idea what they were thinking with this one. So there he is, the Hot Toys 1989 Michael Keaton Batman, and this thing is just so beautiful. If you haven't got one of these at the moment and you can get your hands on one, I highly, highly recommend it. I promise you, you will not be disappointed with anything. I know there's a lot of reviews out there at the moment that are criticising certain aspects of this figure. Like I said, the texturing, the cape, the belt, the face, the cowl. I've heard all sorts of complaints about this figure. I've got to say, I don't have any complaints. I have no complaints whatsoever. The only thing I'm worried about, like I keep saying, is these gauntlet spikes. I kind of wish they were made out of rubber so that they could actually bend. But we got what we got, so we'll have to just be very, very careful with them. So before we end today's video, let's try and get this guy in some cool poses, very carefully. Okay, so I thought I'd just try and get him into this pose with the rods. You have to change the hands to slip the rods into the hands, which proves to be a little bit of a pain in the neck because the hands keep falling off. And like I said, I'm scared of breaking those gauntlets. I'm really scared of that.